of the Sheikh.
Okay.
The brother is asking, he wants to hear from you about one of our previous sheikhs, Dr. Iqbal, about his
Dr.
qualities.
Iqbal. The most magnificent thing about Dr. Iqbal is how he went to the Quran to look for knowledge. His methodology for approaching the Quran for knowledge. Dr. Iqbal never believed that knowledge is a box which is already sealed, and you simply have to transfer it from one generation to another. That, unfortunately, is the Darul Uloom. Dr. Iqbal would turn to the Quran with a critical mind, with an original mind, and look for new knowledge in the Quran. And that is what makes him stand out separately from the rest. Number two, Iqbal studied modern Western civilization and did it in the light of the Quran. He studied politics, although he was a philosopher. He studied political history, and he said what no Pakistani politician dares to say. He said about the League of Nations, which preceded the United Nations. He said the League of Nations is the League of Thieves. Yes, the League of Nations is a League of Thieves. Can you imagine what is the man in Pakistan now? Sharif. Can you imagine Sharif saying that the United Nations is a nation of thieves? Eh? They don't have the courage to do what Iqbal did. All right? Iqbal said about this ummah, he said this ummah stopped thinking 500 years ago. Yes, that's Iqbal. And I honor him and I respect him even though Iqbal made mistakes, like mountains of mistakes. Iqbal says, and he put it down in writing, today he would say, I'm sorry I ever said that, if he's alive today. He said that the modern Republican state with its parliament is an adequate substitute for the Khilafah state. That's why Shaukat Ali almost had a fight with Iqbal. Yeah, Maulana Shaukat Ali was so angry with him, they almost had a fight. Okay? Iqbal does not believe in the advent of Imam al-Mahdi. Iqbal does not believe that Nabi Isa alayhi salam is returning one day. Good? These are monstrously big mountains of a mistake that he made. Iqbal recognized that Gog and Magog are released. Yes. In 1917, when the 1919, when the Bolshevik Revolution took place in Russia, Iqbal composed this poetry, Khul gaye Ya'juj aur Ma'juj ke lashkar tamam, Chashme Muslim dekh le, Tafsir harf yansirun. Have you heard it before?
No.
Never heard it?
No, I haven't heard it. Maybe.
It's
Never heard it?
Sheikh.
Khul gaye Ya'juj aur Ma'juj ke lashkar tamam. All the armed forces of Gog and Magog are now released.
To my understanding, Sheikh, he never referred to them as real Yajuj and Majuj, but the relevance, similarity.
No.
I'm one of the Iqbal fans.
Iqbal has said all the armed forces of Gog and Magog are now released. you cannot make a ta'wil, an interpretation, to interpret that away. No. Chashme Muslim dekhile tafsir harfi yansirun. The people of the world of Islam must now direct their attention to that passage of the Quran in Surah Al-Anbiya which ends with the word yansirun. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ حَتَّى إِذَا فُتِحَتْ يَأْجُوجُ وَمَأْجُوجُ وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. Despite the fact that Iqbal recognized Gog and Magog to have been released, this is the one and only time that he ever make mention of it in this couplet. His scholarship could have gone forward, and he could have demonstrated in political history, in economic history, etc., the footprints of Gog and Magog. He didn't do that, and that's why they gave him Sir Muhammad Iqbal. Any more?
Before you do, any question from the sisters?
I have a question. If the secret system of time is linked to the Minsa from Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam.
The secret system of time, is it linked to the Minsa of Nabi Sulaiman?
Good question. The sacred system of time is one.
Sheikh, sorry, can I just say, right, to the audience, just so you know, right, the Minsa is the end of the staff of Nabi Sulaiman.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the question, is that bottom part of the staff linked to the sacred system of time? Sorry, Sheikh.
Okay. The sacred system of time, which has come from Allah, has been described in Surah Al-Kahf. So the young men went to sleep in the cave, and they slept for 300 years. And when they woke up after 300 years, and they asked each other, how long have we been here? One of them said maybe a day or a part of a day, indicating that during those 300 years they did not age biologically. If you don't trim your beard, after a few months the beard will be this long. After a few years it will be a long beard. And after 300 years it will be as long as from here to Birmingham. If you don't cut your fingernails, after a few months it will be this long. But after 300 years, from Wembley to Harrow. And this is easily visible. So if they say we've been here only a day or a part of the day, it indicates that they did not spend the 300 years in biological time. They spend the 300 years in a world in which women don't have to bother about cosmetics, because you remain permanently young. Huh? You don't age. Does anyone differ? Good. But the problem is that during the same 300 years, they were right here in this world in biological time. Because every morning and every evening the bodies were rolling. Morning and evening. So how can you be here and yet not here? Answer? The only way you could explain this is constant movement back and forth between different dimensions of time. Constant movement back and forth between different dimensions of time. And if it is possible to move between different dimensions of time, is it possible to show time backwards and forwards? Sulaiman alayhi salam died. And everybody knew he was dead and buried, everybody. Except some nutcrackers. But the jinn who don't live in this world of space and time did not know that he died. Because there was someone sitting on the throne that the Quran referred to as a jasad. And that jasad was holding the staff. But the staff had inside of it something called the minsa of the staff. And if you held that staff and you control the minsa of that staff could become a snake. That staff could hit the water and part the water and make a way to the Red Sea. And if you take that staff and hit the rock, 12 streams of water could come out from the rock. That is the minsa of the staff. So someone who is holding the staff and sitting on the throne is able to use the minsa of the staff to make it appear that Sulaiman alayhi salam is still alive. Because the jinn can see him walking and talking and eating. And so any order that jasad gives to them, they believe it is an order from Sulaiman and they obey. Because Allah says if you disobey Sulaiman, you'll be punished with terrible punishment. And that is continuing up to now. But when Dabbatul Ard comes, then Dabbatul Ard will consume not the staff, not the staff. The Quran doesn't say that. Dabbatul Ard will consume, meaning destroy, the minsa of the staff. And when the minsa of the staff is destroyed, then the jasad who is holding the staff will no longer be able to deceive the jinn, and they will no longer obey him. And that's goodbye to Israel. Do you need more? Farida? Is this enough? So what is Dabbatul Ard? It's most certainly not termites. Termites who are eating the bottom of the staff. I'm sorry, but I cannot use any language to explain this other than nonsense. I'm sorry if you're annoyed with me, that's it. But I have to say, whatever is the price I have to pay, that this is nonsense. That Sulaiman alayhi salam died, sitting on his throne, and he remained there sitting on his throne as a dead body, I don't know for how many months or years. And the termites came, and they were eating at the bottom of the staff. I don't know how long it took before the staff lost its balance. And when the stuff lost its balance, then the stuff collapsed, and then the dead body collapsed. And that's the way this bogus story ends. That is what you find in the tafsir. And it's nonsense. It's nonsense. The minsa is not the stuff. The minsa is a miraculous quality of the stuff, which allows backward and forward movement in time. The physicists are at work from the time of Copernicus and Galileo Galilei and Sir Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein and so on, with looking for a theory which explains the universe, a unified theory which explains the universe. And they combine space and time, it's called it a space-time continuum. And we say no. We say no, time is what is supreme, not space, time. And time is Allah. Time is Allah. La tasubbu ad-dahr fa inni ana ad-dahr. Do not abuse time, because I, Allah, time meaning endless time, ad-dahr. Okay? This is the new book I'm writing now. And they're looking for a unified theory to explain all the universe. And we have it. That this universe came into being with a command. It came into being with a command. And the command came from a being who was intelligent and who had a personality, a person. Not an impersonal force called Om, the Hindu Om. No. And that is Kun Fayakun. That is the unified theory. Go ahead, next one.
Any more from the sisters? Okay, brother, sorry, Hamza. Hamza, please go ahead.
I just want to understand, you're speaking about the sort of structure of the Quran in terms of the first 6 long surahs and things. Is that your theory, or did you get taught that theory, or would you say that's fact? And what's the evidence?
My nephew is asking a question that your conclusion of the first 6 surahs of the Quran, is that your interpretation, or did you get it from somebody else?
I did say Allah knows best.
You said Allahu Alam. That's what I was.
This is my explanation. That is why Allah has started the Quran with 6 long surahs. And I invite those who have a different view to kindly tell me what is your view. Why has the Quran begun with 6 long surahs? Why? This is my explanation.
So did you come up with that theory yourself, or was it with your teacher?
Well, I'm someone who thinks.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes. I spend a long time thinking. And I also pray. And I ask Allah for guidance and knowledge. That's my answer to you. This is how I live my life. Yes.
Sheikh, the way the Quran is compiled, it's not as it was revealed, like Iqra bismi rabbika. That was the first surah. It's not in the beginning. So it was compiled at the time of Sayyidina Usman, and that's how we have it at this stage. Am I right, please?
The Quran that came down from Allah is not a written document. The word Quran means recitation. So whether the scribes wrote it down or not has absolutely nothing to do with the authenticity of the Quran. Who compiled it is irrelevant, because the Quran is a recitation, and it was memorized by many people, all right, before the Prophet ﷺ died. And that memorized Quran is the Quran, not the written one. So you can talk and talk and talk about the written Quran. It's not relevant to me, because that's not the Quran. This is the Quran recitation. Yes, they made an effort to record it. But the recorded Quran has to conform with the Quran itself, which is recited. Okay? The recorded Quran has to conform with this Quran, which is the Quran, which is recited. And when they recorded the Quran, there was no tashkil. Fatha, Kesra, Dhamma, Sukun, none. We have original copies of the Quran at that time, which are today in museums, and you will see there is no Kasra and no Fatha and no Dhamma. So how did it come? Did Allah send down an angel to put it in? I'm sorry I have to raise my voice.
No, that's what the
because
compilation of hadith.
we stopped thinking now. It was people, human beings, they put in the tashkil. Alright? And that is not preserved by Allah. And if you say that the Fatha and the Kasra and the Dhamma, which is in the written form, that is a part of the Quran, I'm sorry for you on Judgment Day, because you're making a mistake. That is not a part of the Quran. Yes?
Brother Iqbal. Sorry, Brother Iqbal, go ahead.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure. If you're quick, as we're running short of time. Hamza, you can go afterwards.
My first question is about the topic, Sheikh, and this movement away from sighting the moon, or if you mentioned, like in some countries where they start the month with when the baby is conceived and not when the baby is born. Is this a deliberate, do you view this as a deliberate agenda? And if so, to what end is this being done? Or is it just ignorance and lost knowledge?
I'm going to answer you, but now I'm going to give you some homework. This is Dajjal's effort to corrupt the sacred system of time and replace it with a bogus secular system. In the sacred system of time, the day ends at sunset. That's right? The day ends at sunset. And the new day begins at sunset. But wait until the 31st of December comes. And wait until midnight comes. And you will see how much sheep and cattle and goats there are in the world. Because they all celebrate a new year at midnight. And on Judgment Day, that evidence will be there in their book. That they've abandoned the sacred system of time, and they now accept what Dajjal has said, that midnight is when a new day begins. Okay? Dajjal used to have AM and PM. AM and PM. 12 hours AM and 12 hours PM. Now a new digital age has come, and guess what? AM and PM have gone.
24 hours.
AM and PM have gone in the airline business. And midnight is now 0.00 hours. And 1 o'clock in the afternoon is 13.00 hours. Alright? So you dispense with day and night. That's where Dajjal is taking us. The month in Allah The month with Allah is from one new moon to another. The new secular system of time which has come from Dajjal, no, January is 31 days. And all of the sheep and cattle who accept that a month can have 31 days on Judgment Day, they'll pay a price for that betrayal. That's everybody. 999 out of every 1,000 going into the hellfire. Muhammad ﷺ gave us that Hadith al-Qudsi. Okay? And so now we have to return to the sacred system of time. But before you arrive, I shared with my audience here tonight. The Prophet prophesied that in Akhir Zaman time will move faster and faster. A whole year like a month, a whole month like a week, a whole week like a day, a whole day like an hour, a whole hour like the amount of time it takes to kindle a fire. So what is an hour? When I went to the pagan Roman Empire, they told me a day is comprised of 12 hours and a night is comprised of 12 hours. When I went to the Gospel of Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, he's telling me that a day is comprised of 12 hours. And I'm astonished. Astonished. And when I go to the Hadith, I find a Hadith which says a day is comprised of 12 hours. And I'm not comfortable with that. Because I learned to think. Okay? So I need someone who will research, and you are the best person to do it. When our Prophet referred to a sa, an hour, what did he mean by that? And how many sa, how many hours are there in a day? And are they all of equal length? Or do they differ with each other? That's your homework. Any more questions? You have another question?
Sorry, go. You're first.
Sure. My question's in like a two-part question. Hope that's okay. So first of all, when you were talking about in Surah Al-A'la, when Allah said, "We will make you recite, and you will not forget. We'll make you recite, you will not forget, unless Allah wills it."
Except what Allah wants you to forget. Except what Allah wants you to forget. Go ahead.
I maybe mistakenly assumed that he was talking about the abrogated verses, but you said that it was about the verse that revealed during Ramadan. Is that what you said widely accepted, and is that based on the hadith?
No, you'll have to do your own research now. I don't answer those questions whether widely accepted or not.
I mean,
my duty is to teach. My duty is to teach.
Okay,
your
fine.
duty is to examine whether I'm bogus or not.
The second part then of it is, just more broadly speaking, generally your talks, first of all I'm hearing you, would you say, is your talks, the stuff in your talk supported by hadiths, any evidence in with hadith? Or would you say you're working outside of the hadiths? Just so I generally get an understanding.
The hadiths are very important for me. Very important. But Allah says about the Quran, وَإِنَّهُ لَحَقُّ الْيَقِينِ, that in this Quran there is absolute truth. He didn't say that about anything else. But he also said about the Quran that this Quran is Al-Furqan, that which distinguishes truth from falsehood. And so my teacher taught, and that's why they hated him, that the Quran must sit in judgment over the Hadith. And if a Hadith is in harmony with the Quran, we accept it. But if a Hadith is in conflict with the Quran, like a Hadith which says that our Prophet married a child, you don't believe me? She was 6 years of age. That's what the Hadith says. And that Hadith is in manifest conflict with the Quran, but nobody dares to bell the cat. It's too dangerous to bell the cat. that hadith is in conflict with the Quran. So when the hadith is in conflict, that's not the only one. When a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, we do not accept it. There was a very famous scholar in India. Everybody respected him. Whether you were Deobandi or Brelvi or this or that, everybody respected him. His name was Anwar Shah Kashmiri. Anwar Shah Kashmiri. And he taught in the Deoband Darul, but everybody respected him. And Anwar Shah Kashmiri was able to demonstrate that there were several hadiths in Bukhari which were in conflict with the Quran. So yes, we accept the hadith on the condition hadith must be judged by the Quran. Yeah.
So, are there hadiths which are in harmony with what you are saying?
Oh yes. Oh yes. There are lots of hadiths which are in harmony with the Quran and we accept them. I suggest that you read my book, The Quran and the Moon. Have you ever heard of it?
First time I've heard you, Sheikh.
He's
The
my nephew.
Quran and the Moon, yeah. Alright, I have a website. Oh, it's probably at the back. The book is already probably at the back. You can get it at the back. It's a small book. The Quran and the Moon. But the follow-up book is what I'm now writing. Dajjal and Time. Dajjal's Footprints in Time. Okay? Next question.
Can we have this as the last question, please?
One more after that.
Imran, please.
Sheikh, you in a recent talk, so it's a different topic about India, you looked at an ayah of the Quran which was talking about there will come a time where there will be people who you will have great enmity with, and one group was the Quran ayah says the Yahud, and another group was the Mushrikeen. But you identified the Mushrikeen with Western civilization. Can you help me understand Western civilization being identified as the Mushrikeen here?
The Western civilization very clearly have Gog and Magog located, controlling power. India is today a country with much overt signs of shirk, the worship of idols.